Nono Congresso di Psicologia Europea di Comunità a Napoli, presso la Fondazione Mediterraneo nel museo MAMT. L'organizzatrice è professoressa Arcidiacono, un commento?
È un grande lavoro per una grande condivisione di finalità, di scopi e anche di lavoro.
First of all, let me introduce to you our host of this building and the host and the president of the Fondazione Mediterraneo, Michele Carpasso, and we are happy to be in your building and we are happy to have you here. So please give your introduction address. Thank you.
Buongiorno a tutti e vi do il benvenuto a nome della Fondazione Mediterraneo, sede della nostra fondazione. La fondazione è nata più di 20 anni fa e tra le sue attività principali ha quella di promuovere il benessere, la qualità della vita, insomma di cercare di aiutare tutti noi nel tentativo di essere felici. Un compito difficile, una missione impossibile che richiede impegno costante, soprattutto in una società complessa che di giorno in giorno crea sempre di più barriere tra l'identità dell'essere e dell'uscire con forza. Seduti in un caffè su un lungomare, io ho detto devo andare a Lisbona per il Comitato dei Saggi dell'Unione Europea, cerchiamo di dare un messaggio forte per questa gente. E c'è uscita questa frase: il Mediterraneo lega tutti i popoli, la legge del mare riguarda tutti i popoli, ma occorre un'azione concreta per armonizzare quelle che sono le leggi, la difesa dell'ambiente, la promozione della giustizia, il rispetto dell'altro, in una nuova concezione che passa dal concetto di sviluppo a quello di evoluzione. Dobbiamo evolverci per tentare di armonizzare la nostra vita in equilibrio con l'ambiente di vita e nel rispetto dell'ambiente naturale. Questo concetto è passato al Comitato dei Saggi, al quale ho portato il benvenuto anche di questo convegno, e sono felice che proprio qui da Napoli potrà partire alla fine dei vostri lavori un significativo esempio di come oggi l'uomo, il rapporto con l'altro, deve essere al centro della nostra essere capaci di trasformare l'amore per il potere che sta infettando ogni pezzo della nostra vita in tutti gli angoli civili, politici e religiosi, nell'indispensabile potere dell'amore, che significa operare per competenza e non per appartenenza, che significa sentire dentro di sé il concetto di bene e mondo. E con queste parole, consapevole che voi tutti siete dei potenti dell'amore per la vita e per il benessere, vi do il benvenuto a Napoli, nella sede della nostra fondazione, sperando che l'accoglienza sia degna di tutti voi e della qualità di questo convegno, che Caterina Arcidiacono, vicepresidente e cofondatrice della fondazione, ha fortemente voluto in questa sede per legare le sue due esperienze di docente e di professionista della materia, ma anche di esperta dei problemi mediterranei che in 20 anni ha con me condiviso e partecipato. Grazie.
Yes, continuous. People are, since they are very young, extremely impressed by its time. And it's time for reflection. Haste and reflections are antinomies. And then we teach in schools a relationship with, we teach relationships. Relationships are subordination with a hierarchy and competitiveness.
Sorry, Francesca, do you mean violence in the family or violence, for example, in the relationship? You say that
not violence, but
like abuse, like
yeah,
or
sometimes
like,
they have been assisted.
weakness.
Weakness.
Hello everyone, and my name is Alessandra, and I'm a PhD student, and the work that I'm going to present is called Domestic Violence, Topics Bound in Women's Representation and Experience experiences. Well, despite the rich variety of interventions and intervention programs nowadays, in Italy, domestic violence is still a big emergency, as the last Istat report can reveal. Usually in a couple, violence is often related to personal history, where the perpetrator of intimate partner feminicide often have a history of experiencing child abuse.
So that's the conventional is minimum 30 hours. Sometimes it's new for the student, something entirely different, and sometimes it's an extension of something that they may already be doing, because we put so much emphasis on getting going for year one that some of them have already gone out into the community and started to do things. So it's very much
for private universities soon grew into a movement with tens of thousands of students from all kinds of educational institutions, as well as other supporting social sectors. In order to face a reflection on the heterogeneity of the actors involved in this phenomenon, we must first consider that the definition of the movement as non-participant involvement and others could rescue the memory of the old student organizations and movements that preceded Yo Soy 132, which included the participation of academics who joined the initiative through the Yo Soy 132 Académico Assembly, other kinds of groups and organizations of young people were involved. Some examples of these are those who were
in comparison to the adults of the organization that trust them and support them. The group considered the ideal relationship required
to run 27 interviews, so just 27 because we needed to choose some witnesses. We chose political, historical, and activist as witnesses. And also because transition actually is still a very elitarian movement, which appeals just to a minority of people who work for that. We did the thematic analysis, applies to the 27 interviews, which were of course taped and transcribed, and we looked for repeated patterns, but also for isolate their experience of living there. And through that, we tried to understand if transition had any influence in their experience, or if it is meaningful for them nowadays, after 5 years that transition is going on there. So this is a very simple map I did from me.
Don't bring. Yeah. And then I present only, but we have 20 people here.
You have 20 people?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
It's like a good job.
Yeah.
James, if you go to Inna.
Okay.
Prescription of stimulant medication is repeatedly warranted in terms of evidence-based approaches to treatment dedicated to, quotes, improved patient care. The UK National Clinical Practice Guidelines, number 72 in particular, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, diagnosis and management of ADHD.
So just some conclusion and some conclusive remarks about, for example, the importance of considering if an immigration is voluntary or not. So the fact that Albanians come from, they were obliged to leave from their own country. And especially we noticed that good level of sense of community, high level sense of community with reference to local community, they don't foster negative attitudes toward outsiders. And finally, surprisingly, no reference to influence component. And so,
I guess the history between Italians and Albanians, is there any sort of racial tension between the two groups? Or?
No, okay, yes, I not mention this because of time, but we just know by reading some literature on representation of various ethnic groups.
Nono Congresso Europeo di Psicologia di Comunità, 500 persone qui alla Fondazione Mediterraneo, divise in 12 sessioni di lavoro.
I cannot go back home because I haven't done enough good work here to go back. There was have you heard of the expression saving face saving? There was a lot of that sort of work going on in some of these accounts. Okay. And lots of people really didn't understand the immigration rules. So it is complicated in the UK, hugely complicated, and we found trouble in trying to understand some of them as well. But there was a lot of rumours around if you have a child, the child will guarantee you an identity document that you'd get to stay. But that isn't necessary.
Identity, a cosmopolitan identity, an intercultural identity. So that means that we have the co-responsibility for the whole humanity, and we have to meet the others in an intercultural encounters. Our spaces, our cities, our institutions now, in the context of globalization, are spaces of intercultural encounters. The other is not the other that belongs to another nation. It's the other that is in my nation, is in my space, and I will meet him every day.
Ethnic groups to receive esteem and recognition within the cultural and social context in which they live. And the solutions that the politics of recognition offers are not transformational.
Okay, Farah, why don't you go ahead, and if you can try to make sure that you go quick, and if you can ask someone to keep time for you, that would be great.
The voice is there?
Is the voice okay, or should I?
Go ahead. Egypt has been ranked on the gender gap report as number 125 out of 154 countries. Gender inequalities appear in the context of the family laws, discriminate against women sometimes in favor of men, physical integrity, female genital mutilation, for example, is very highly prevalent in Egypt, as well as sexual harassment, education, legal force participation, sexual and gender-based violence has been exercised by the state as women protesters were exposed to victims of violence, ranging from sexual harassment during arrests to virginity tests by the military in the military prisons. The fundamental political groups as well have been asking for gender segregation, cancellation of the CEDAW agreement, and the removal of many policies and laws that women have gained throughout the years because they've been associated with a previously failed regime, and they've been perceived as cultural imperialism and imposition from the
expiration of the dangerous unknowns in the forbidden is related with marginality, and marginality is a particular point for its problems.
And the people that are working with. On the program level, the same should be done. Again, including most importantly men and youth in the process, and cultural sensitivity and their should be including the strategic planning of the project.
While the first members give on Facebook, it means post, comments, and like at the 3 moments. that is during the first edition, during the second edition, and in a moment of transition from the two courses. Secondly, at the end of the course, we asked to the students to...
Yeah, for example, our method, how we select the participant. We offer in the school and in the dance center, in those communities, and the children and the girls choose the project.
For us, as I said, we started as a community assessment. So using photos and voices, we're identifying issues. This is a post-disaster context. What are the challenges that women face? What are the policies that failed? What kind of policies and response we need? So it's an assessment. As a community assessment, we are analyzing data that way. But also, as an intervention, we are assessing the data and how women start to grieve and address their trauma. But also, as a sort of a research project, I wasn't planning on doing this, but as I've been doing this, I'm just very, very interested in understanding what happens when we do photo voice. What processes, how people become politicized and conscientization, that power phrase, understanding of how, awareness rate is increased. But how? Is that a photo? Is that a group process? What role do we play as a facilitator? What questions do we ask? I don't just ask, so what is this picture, right? So we kind of play down. I wonder what this picture means. Or, this picture and that picture, it's a totally different picture, but what do you think are the connections, right? So we play a lot of roles, but what helps people to really move from where they are and become aware and politically or socially active? So for that,
C'è importante for us and this connection educate for your team. And it's another part of the
Ma perché? Sì, tesoro. Va bene, ok.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think this was basically a nice way of doing it, because we were basically in this building with welcomed actually into this building, and I always like this building because this is basically where ECPA was founded, and Michele was our host, and he basically quickened stuff. Okay. We are grateful to our hosts, including Michele, and to Caterina, and to Caterina's team. I'm glad the team, mostly, I guess, here.
What is the team?
Did we see the... the fact that some of the people on the team were actually not local, they came as volunteers. So this is, as far as most people are concerned, a very important beginning, because if we can get this type of continuity, this type of interaction between volunteers or people who work for the conference, it would actually be quite a nice way of building community psychology in Europe. Okay. Having said that, I think we have to thank Caterina personally for all of her effort, and we wanted to give her something, but to be very honest, I did not know what to do. And usually I come to a conference with gifts, both for the person or the people who organize it and for the volunteers. But I have been recently laid off, in other words, kicked out of my work. And that has been quite a kick for me. Therefore, I wasn't able to bring anything. So locals said a gift like this would be very appropriate. So on behalf of all of the participants, I would like to give We appreciate hospitality.
Thanks, but I must say that without my local team, then I must say is a working team, but it's also a team of togetherness, of shared relationship, and I must say also a team of people loving each other, that in all problems were supporting each other, even falling on the stairs when something. So it's very supporting each other, and we had very good help from very Brazilian volunteers that is learning how to work in Fortaleza next time working with us, and then we had 2 Turkish young students very helpful with us. So we had also, and we had Francesca from Portugal and Beatrice from Portugal and other people from Greece, from Spain, and where is Manuel? No, Manuel is dead. Manuel is totally dead, but anyway, Manuel too. And we must say there is a continuity, because people that hosted us in Barcelona has been hosted here. But Agostino was host of Manuel in Barcelona, and Manuel is now host of Agostino here. With Francesca and Agostino, we were hosted by Isaac in Miami in June.
Psicologi di condominio che fanno parte della rete figurano in un elenco che è costantemente aggiornato e promosso adeguate attività attraverso attività di comunicazione. Cioè uno, certo che sul psicologo si deve promuovere anche questo punto, però l'idea di essere una rete, di avere un sistema di comunicazione e di promozione dell'idea della rete.
Yeah. So the two are linked now. Yeah. I mean, I linked it. Yeah. You physically have it. Yeah. But you can link it. You can link across all kinds of data types. It can also be. You can also, if you're in an interview, somebody tells you something, and in the middle of the interview, somebody tells you something completely different.